Okay, so you ever just like stop and think about how much time we spend messing with our hair?
Mm.
Cutting it, shaving it, trying to make it look all nice. I feel like I'm always doing something with it.
It's a never-ending battle.
And then I look at my dog and I'm like, dude, you have it so easy. He just rolls around in the dirt and his hair looks amazing.
Well, that's kind of what we're diving into today.
Yeah,
Like, why are humans so obsessed with our hair?
right. Like, where did this all begin?
We've got a few big questions to tackle today, starting with, are humans really less hairy than other mammals?
Ooh, interesting.
Or is there something else going on?
Okay, what else?
Then we're going to look at why some of your hair, grows long, like
Yeah.
crazy long, but other hair just stays short.
Like head hair versus arm hair, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And finally, we're going to get into like hair patterns and why men and women have such different body hair.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
And trust me, it goes way beyond just like, what's considered fashionable.
I'm sensing some serious evolution stuff coming into play here.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking deep evolutionary biology.
All right, so where do we even start with this? Because, like, I feel like there are so many myths and misconceptions about hair out there.
Oh, for sure. Totally.
Yeah.
Let's start by just busting one common myth you've probably heard people talk about, like peach fuzz,
Yeah.
as if it's like not real hair or something.
Right, right. Like it's this weird, different thing.
Yeah, but that's just not true.
Oh, really?
All human hair is hair. It's just different types.
Okay.
Like, think about it. Mammals have hair, right?
Right.
Even whales have hair.
No way.
Yeah, it might be super tiny, almost invisible, but it's there.
Wow.
So what we call peach fuzz is just finer and shorter than like the hair on your head.
Okay, so it's still hair, just like mini hair.
Exactly. It's all hair.
Got it. No more peach fuzz talk. But it still doesn't explain why we look so much less hairy than, say, our chimpanzee cousins.
Right. And that's where things get interesting.
Okay.
See, we actually have roughly the same number of hair follicles as a chimpanzee.
What? Really?
Yeah. The difference is the thickness of the hair shafts.
So it's not that we lost hair, it's just that our hair got thinner.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Imagine like a chimpanzee with this thick, dense coat, and you with a much finer, almost invisible layer. Same coverage, but drastically different appearance.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And now I'm picturing a chimpanzee in, like, a little sweater vest, which is hilarious. But seriously, that begs the question. Why did our hair get thinner?
Ah, well, that's where we start to uncover the really fascinating story of human evolution and how it's intertwined with our hair. So we were talking about how humans ended up with like way thinner hair than our primate relatives.
Right, right.
And it might seem like a small change, but it was actually a pretty big deal for us, like as a species.
Yeah, okay, I'm ready to hear more about this. Like, how did thinner hair actually help our ancestors, survive?
Well, imagine, you're an early human living on the African savanna.
Okay.
It's hot, the sun is beaten down, and you're out there like chasing prey or foraging for food.
Yeah.
That thick fur coat that your like chimp cousins are rocking suddenly becomes a major problem.
Yeah, overheating would be an issue.
Exactly. And that's where thinner hair and, more importantly, sweat glands come into play.
Oh, interesting.
As our ancestors became more active during the day, they needed a way to, like, cool down.
Right.
Shedding that fur allowed our sweat glands to work much more efficiently,
Okay.
kept us from overheating, and actually gave us a big advantage, in terms of survival.
Wow, so sweating is like a superpower.
It kind of is. Especially when you think about the fact that a lot of the predators back then, they were less active during the hottest parts of the day.
Right.
So we could be out there hunting and gathering when other animals were just, like, hiding in the shade.
Sneaky.
So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of wild to think about. Our hair, or lack of it, actually played a part in us becoming the dominant species on this planet.
Wow, that's crazy. But then why do we still have hair at all? Like, wouldn't it be even more efficient to just be completely hairless?
Well, because evolution is all about balance.
Okay.
Losing most of our body hair, yeah, that was good. But being totally hairless, that would have come with its own set of problems.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Protection, for one thing. Hair protects our skin from the sun, right?
Oh, yeah, true.
It helps cushion us from, bumps and scrapes. And it even acts as a barrier against, like, bugs and parasites.
Right. Okay, so it's kind of like a trade-off. We traded some fur for better cooling, but kept enough for protection.
Exactly.
What about the hair on our heads? Why is that so different from, the hair on our arms or legs?
Well, think about it. our heads are always exposed, right?
Yeah.
The sun, the wind, the rain, everything.
Right.
That thick hair acts like a natural hat.
Okay.
It insulates us from the cold and protects our scalp from, getting sunburned.
Like a built-in sunshade.
Exactly. And the fact that it can grow so long, it adds even more protection.
And gives us so many options for styling it. Braids, haircuts, you name it.
Exactly.
But I'm still curious about, like, why some hair grows so long and some stays super short. Like the hair on my arms, it never seems to grow past a certain length.
Right. And that's because different types of hair have different growth cycles.
Okay.
So head hair, it can stay in its active growth phase for years,
Oh, wow.
which is why it can get so long.
Okay, yeah.
But arm hair, it has a much shorter growth cycle, so it grows quickly for a bit, then enters a resting phase where it stops growing.
Huh. So it's like a timer for our hair?
Kind of. Yeah.
That's probably why those lion's manes don't actually grow forever, like people say, huh?
Exactly. Even the most majestic manes eventually stop growing and shed. It's just that their active growth phase is like way longer than arm hair.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got our hair growth cycles figured out. But there's one last hair mystery I really want to unpack.
Yeah.
Why do men and women have such different hair patterns?
Well, that's where we get into the whole world of sexual selection and how hormones shape our bodies.
All right, so we've covered how, shedding that fur really helped our ancestors out and how different types of hair have different growth cycles. But what about men and women? Why do men usually have more, like, facial and body hair?
Well, like we touched on earlier, it's not all about what's considered, attractive or fashionable in different cultures. There's a lot of biology involved too, particularly hormones.
Mm.
Men generally have higher levels of testosterone,
Right, yeah.
and that plays a huge role in, hair growth patterns.
Okay, so that's why men are more likely to grow those thick beards, huh?
Exactly. And it goes beyond just facial hair too. Testosterone affects body hair growth all over, like on the chest, back, legs.
Interesting. But wouldn't it make more sense from an evolutionary perspective if everyone just had less body hair, regardless of gender? Like, didn't we say that losing that fur was a good thing?
You're right, and it really shows how evolution isn't always about pure practicality. There's another piece to this puzzle, and it all comes down to attraction and, well, finding a mate.
Okay, so now we're talking about the dating game, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hair, or even the lack of hair, can send a pretty strong signal, when it comes to attraction.
Okay.
Back in the day, for men, a big beard or a hairy chest, could have been seen as a sign of strength and virility, stuff like that.
Makes sense.
And those traits would have been attractive to potential mates.
So it's like they're advertising their good genes.
Yeah, you could say that.
Mhm.
And for women, on the other hand, being less hairy in many cultures, it often signals youthfulness, fertility, and those are desirable qualities too.
Right.
Remember, evolution's all about, passing on those genes to the next generation.
Right, yeah.
So anything that helps you find a mate, well, it gets the thumbs up from natural selection.
So it's this weird balance, right? Like losing most of our body hair helped us survive, but keeping some of it in certain places became important for attracting mates and keeping the species going.
Yeah, it's this kind of back and forth between practicality and attraction, shaped by, millions of years of evolution.
Oh, yeah, that's fascinating.
Oh, and don't forget about those pheromones we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
They play a part too, and hair can actually help trap and spread those chemical signals. So even though we might shave or wax or do whatever to get rid of hair, it's had a huge impact on shaping, well, us, as a species.
It's like this whole secret history hidden right there in our biology.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, if we could, go back in time and redesign our body hair, what would we choose? Would we go totally hairless, embrace a full-on furry look, or maybe come up with something completely new?
That's such a cool question. Like, how much of what we find attractive is, ingrained in us versus just cultural?
Exactly. And with all the technology we have these days, who knows what the future holds? Maybe we'll be able to just customize our body hair, change the color, the texture, even the pattern.
Whoa, imagine that. Changing your hair like you change your clothes. Maybe a more minimalist look for work and then something wild and furry for a night out. The possibilities are endless.
It is a pretty wild thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it definitely raises some questions, about our relationship with our bodies, how culture influences us, and how technology could, well, maybe even reshape us physically.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about something I thought I knew. It's like we've just scratched the surface of this whole hairy history.
It's been fun. It just goes to show that even those everyday things like hair They can tell us some incredible stories about where we came from.
So the next time you're staring in the mirror wondering why you have to deal with all this hair, remember it's part of what makes you, well, you, a living, breathing result of millions of years of evolution.
Well said. And who knows, maybe someday we will have the power to completely design our own body hair. But until then, let's embrace what we've got in all its, weird and wonderful complexity.
That's a great point. And on that note, we'd love to hear from you. If you could design your perfect body hair, what would it look like? Share your ideal hair design on social media using the hashtag #HairyHistoryDeepDive. We can't wait to see what you come up with.